The Ghost of W.D. Gann. I realize it's not Halloween, but today we're going to talk about the original Wizard of Wall Street, W.D. Gann, who was a financial trader and wealthy speculator that spent decades investigating cycle trends in equity market patterns and found that prices could be predicted long in advance. He successfully predicted the crashes in 1929, the dot-com bubble, and the great financial crisis. And according to his analysis, the U.S. stock market is due for another crash in 2020. William Delbert Gann is perhaps the most mysterious of all the famous traders in history, known for using geometry, astrology, and ancient mathematics to predict events in the financial markets and historical events. Gann's trading strategies are still widely used today, long after his death in 1955. Gann's disciples claim he was one of the most successful stock and commodity traders who ever lived, while critics argue there's no concrete proof he ever made a great fortune from speculation. Was Gann really a great trader? Or was he merely a guru who profited from selling books and running seminars? Well, let's take a look. According to Investopedia, in 1919, Gann began publishing a daily market letter called the Supply and Demand Newsletter, covering stocks and commodities and making yearly forecasts. In 1923, he started another publication called The Busy Man's Service, in which he gave specific trading recommendations. He also wrote a number of books throughout his life, including The Tunnel Through the Air and 45 Years in Wall Street. Late in his career, he sold a master course to private students for $5,000 apiece, which is roughly the equivalent of $50,000 apiece today. Gann often quoted the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1, verse 9, which reads, "That which has been is what will be. That which is done is what will be done, and there is nothing new under the sun." He believed everything occurring in markets has historical reference points. Essentially, everything has happened before and will eventually repeat itself. He studied ancient geometry and astrology to investigate how market events and specific numbers repeated across various time cycles. On these cycles, he stated, "To make a success, you must continue to study past records, because the market in the future will be a repetition of the past. If I have the data, I can tell by the study of cycles when a certain event will occur in the future. The limit of future predictions based on exact mathematical law is only restricted by lack of knowledge of correct data on past history to work from." He identified a number of time cycles of importance, viewing the 60-year cycle as being of major importance. He stated, "This is the greatest and most important cycle of all, which repeats every 60 years or at the end of the third 20-year cycle. You will see importance of this by referencing to the war period of 1861 to 1869 and the panic following 1869. Also, 60 years later, which was 1921 to 1929, the greatest bull market in history and the greatest panic in history followed. This proves the accuracy and value of this great time period. In November 1928, Gann reportedly issued an annual forecast for 1929, which predicted the end of the great bull market of the 1920s on September 3, 1929. The crash actually occurred on October 24th. He also placed great emphasis on the 90-year cycle, which Gann advocates say predicts a potential financial crisis occurring in 2019, and some revisions have indicated 2020. This year will be 90 years after the financial crisis in 1929, which itself occurred roughly 90 years after the Panic of 1837, and a smaller cycle of note, 144 months, also coincides with 2019. 144 months is a span between 2007, which was the most recent major financial crisis, and 2019. Some of Gann's less esoteric ideas are commonly used in technical analysis tools today, often integrated into charting and trading software platforms. A common example is Gann's fans, consisting of a series of diagonal lines called Gann angles. These angles are superimposed over a price chart to show potential support and resistance levels. Definitely, there are supporters and doubters of WD Gann, and each has a valid argument. However, you cannot argue that WD Gann had significant influence on the stock market and particularly technical trading. So I will leave you with this, which is a list of WD Gann's trading rules, and you can freeze the video. Hopefully, you can read each of them. I'm not necessarily suggesting to use each and every one of these, but coming from somebody that had such great influence, it's worth taking a few minutes and reading this list from the top to the bottom. So for today, that's ChewDog Charts. Thank you.